Hi, my name's Tane Drinkwater and I'm the CEO of the Brisbane Broncos NRL women's team. I'm about to introduce you to a remarkable young woman, Tahlulah Tillett. I first heard of Tahlulah a number of years ago, however didn't have the opportunity to meet her until earlier this year when we signed her as part of our inaugural NRLW Nines team. I say Tahlulah is remarkable simply for the fact that I don't think I've ever met another young woman who's had to overcome such adversity in such a short period of time to be able to perform at an elite level. Tahlulah's determination, will and fierceness to overcome injury, rehabilitate herself, not only physically but emotionally, and get up every morning to work hard to achieve those dreams is a testament to her character and should be seen as inspirational for young women around the world. When the COVID-19 hit in 2020, I don't think any of us expected the world to look like it currently does. But despite the hardship that's being faced, it's also important to remember that female participation at an elite level needs to continue to be pushed, and we can't lose the story that we've created so far. So this week, when we announced that the 2020 NRLW season would proceed, it sends a really strong message that despite the hardship that's being faced across the world, that female participation is an essential part of the fabric of our society. The NRLW proceeding sends a strong message to young women and men that you can achieve your dreams, that you can work hard, and that certainly female participation is alive and strong. So now Tahlulah has the opportunity to potentially create history. I hope you enjoy her story.
Before I get started, I'd just like to pay my respects to the elders past, present and future of the land that I meet on today. So my name's Tahlulah Tillett, I'm 21, from Cairns, and I'm a proud Torres Strait Islander woman. So just going to talk to you guys about where I was beforehand, before coronavirus, and how I've dealt with this pandemic, what I've been up to, and yeah, like I said, how I've dealt with it, and I guess where I'm headed for the future. So before coronavirus set in, back in February, I just signed with the Brisbane Broncos to play in the NRL Nines, and was down there training with them, and I'd suffered a minor knee injury in our first training session, which then ruled me out of the NRL Nines, and it was quite devastating for myself because I had just suffered 3 knee injuries prior to that over the last few years, and you know, I guess preparing to be on that big stage for the first time for myself to get injured a couple of days out was, like I said, devastating, and I knew it was going to be a bit of another hurdle, but I knew I'd be able to get through it. And so I come back up to Cairns to start the rehab process, and with my physio and the Northern Pride up here, and it was mid-March or so, obviously when coronavirus hit pretty bad. Everything then got cancelled, so the week football got cancelled for the rest of the year was the week I got cleared to play again. So for me, that was another big blow, getting ready to come back, and then, you know, everything's just out the door sort of thing. It was quite challenging mentally, you know, you put in all that effort to get back out on the field, and then it's ripped away from you in a split second. But, you know, like I said, it was tough, but I couldn't control that. I couldn't change anything about it, and, you know, I was still one of the lucky ones that coronavirus didn't really affect me that bad compared to what other people were going through and had been through. So I obviously still consider myself lucky, considering, you know, it was obviously still devastating, but I just had to deal with it and move on from that. But like I said, it was challenging, and I sort of went through a bit of a slump with my training, and I suppose I needed a few weeks off to sort of refresh myself mentally, and so I took a few weeks off, but it was pretty hard to then get back into it, but you know, I was still very lucky that throughout the pandemic I was able to keep my job. I worked for a builder called HC Building and Construction, and we build up in the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander community, so we're an essential service, and I was obviously very lucky, one of the lucky ones to be able to keep working, and which was really good for me. Obviously mentally you got something to get up and look forward to each day and occupy yourself with, so that was obviously a really good thing for myself. And I eventually got back to the point where they were talking about the state of origin and the NRLW starting to get back on track for the end of the season, and I had to switch back on with my training and start, I guess, preparing myself for what could potentially happen in a few months' time. So started getting back into my training, and I'm actually really enjoying it and loving it now. I think having a few weeks off was probably a good thing for myself mentally, refreshing myself and getting ready for what could be in a few months' time. So that was obviously a really good thing. And throughout this time, I've also, with my sister Indiana, been able to create a Instagram page called Tillett Sisters, which is something that's been a really had a really positive impact on not only ourselves but quite a few people within the community as well. So we decided to create this page to help inspire and empower people, in particular women and young girls coming through, to go out and chase their dreams no matter what life throws at them, and any obstacles that they have to sort of overcome. So we've decided to do that. And my sister, she's been through a knee injury as well, so she's had to sort of go through tough times as well. So that's been really good for us, and for myself in particular. Obviously gets you out there and gets you motivated, and it sort of gives you a reason to keep going. And so yeah, that's been really good. And like I've sort of learnt within this period that I can only control certain things, and that you can't control everything, and that you've just got to sort of deal with it and take each day as it comes. And a thing that I've sort of lived by through everything within my sporting career and injuries, and that is, it is what it is. And like I said, it's something that I can't control, and I just sort of think each day is a day closer to where I want to be with my football career and achieving my dreams. So I think everyone out there, it's a day closer to, each day is a day closer to sort of being back to normal and everything being better again. So I think we just all gotta keep at it together and stick together as a community, and we'll all get through this pandemic, and we'll all see the other side very, very soon.
I started dancing when I was about 9 years old. It was the best thing ever. I just love dancing all the time. It's just one of my favorite things to do. It felt really flowy and beautiful, and I was like, oh my God. When I close my eyes, I see. I do it every day if I wanted to, but I'm dancing like a little princess, la 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 la. I know I don't yet know it, so I trust you when you say that beauty lives in me too. It gives me a lot of energy, a lot of spark, and it delivers a message as well. And a lot of choreographers in my life, like Kathy Delves and Florence Tellier, and just a lot of people that have been dancing for so many years, and theatre as well, yeah. Caroline Bowditch, she is from Scotland, and I did kind of a residency with her. She's in a wheelchair and she has a disability, and first time I saw her I was like, oh my God. she's such a small thing, but she has a big heart and she just loves theatre and just as much as I love it. So John is a person behind the scenes doing backstage work, and he's just one of the most kindest men ever. He's shown me how to sound and lighting for the show as well, it was scary at first, but then I got the hang of it a couple of times, you know. It's not easy being a behind the scenes person. Yeah, I've taught the Sunshine Troupe lots of choreography, and it's been pretty amazing for me being a dancer and then going into a choreographer. So it's just an amazing experience that I get to do. I want people to know that people with disabilities can dance anywhere, because it's important for not just people in the mainstream, but people in the disability to go out and just achieve their dreams. So when I think of dance as a whole new level, I think, you know, bride and fireworks and all that kind of stuff. And also like different scenes that, like, you know, could be like a Romeo Juliet or you know, something of Shakespeare or anything, you know, that's part of theatre. What's important about my job is to advocate people with disabilities, because some people think that people with disabilities are just boring, but they're not. They are just like people like us, and we need to be respected no matter how old you are or if you have a disability. Anyone can do it, because it is important to know that people with disabilities are stronger than ever. And they may be, you know, in a wheelchair or on crutches, but we still do the things we love: theatre, dance, going to the beach, going on walks, anything. We're just like normal human beings.
Hi, hello. I'll be taking you through my story about Meri Tradies PNG and me as a trainer for automotive in Papua New Guinea for APTC. Okay. I'll be introducing you to Meri Tradies PNG, talking about the equal participation in the workforce, the cultures and the tradition barriers, and building a network of women in trades. Meri Tradies PNG started off with one woman's journey in the male-dominated trade here in Papua New Guinea. The realizing of Meri Tradies or tradeswomen in PNG and the Pacific being the silent ones, and the need of being heard. Okay, for those of you who is wondering what Meri is, it simply means woman in PNG Pidgin or PNG language. My name is Doris Meliwane, and this is my story. I am currently employed by APTC as the automotive trainer, and I am the first woman here in PNG and I believe the Pacific to be delivering the Australian qualification in automotive. As the founder of Meri Tradies PNG, I wanted to share my experience and dreams, but who to share it was the difficulty or the problem I had. So I reached out to the sisters in the building trades in the US, and they listened to me, because here in Papua New Guinea, no one or nobody was listening. Okay, my husband listened, my children, they listened, and my family listened. Even APTC, the company that I worked in, listened. Okay? My voice was heard, and that made me realize that all my sisters in trades who are working in different companies around the country and in the Pacific, they also needed to be listened. Okay? My voice was heard, that made me realize that all my sisters, like I said, in PNG and the Pacific, can be heard too if we come together. And that was when Meri Tradies PNG was born on the 26th of October 2019, after 2 years of connecting with the women outside my country, outside Papua New Guinea. Okay. Equal participation in the workforce would be is all about women taking up male-dominated trades, keep silent of the issue they face in their workplaces every day. Every day they face, they have issues, but they don't talk about it. And the question I would ask is, who is to be blamed? Okay, that's what we ask. Is it the culture and the tradition? For us, the Melanesian way of life that is so strong, that puts us Melanesian women in a position where we think we cannot do anything a man can do. The tradition and the culture is what makes us who we are. And with that, the culture and the tradition that we are proud of. Yes, we are proud of who we are, because that makes us who we are. But the thing is, our dreams of being successful in life is never a reality. Our dream of what we want to become, what we want to do, is never a reality for us. A few women has broken the barrier and taken up traditional male-dominated trades and are very successful in what they are doing, including me and the women in trades, and more women in the Pacific who are doing it but are silent. It never was that easy back in the late 90s. As to be walking around in overalls, steel caps, hard hats, and fixing cars, welding metals, or building houses, or even working in construction, to name a few. But we have beat the odds in a men's world. I can say that with pride. We are working alongside our men to develop our nations. And that is all we are asking for, to be equal in the workforce, in developing this beautiful country and the Pacific as a whole. My dream for Meri Tradies PNG is building a network of women in trades to reach out and connect with the tradeswomen in the other Pacific island nations and overcome issues that they face in the workforce. There are so many stories about tradeswomen that need to be heard. And that is where Meri Tradies comes in, to have a voice, to talk about the challenges they face, the roles and responsibilities they have as working mothers and as women, the barriers that they face in the workforces or in the house, the family, the abuses they have, the violence, to be neglected, the type of respect they get, everything. We as tradeswomen here need to be heard. And this is my story. To conclude, Meri Tradies PNG has now over 320 active members on Facebook, which is all women in trades only. And we also have within the 320 are also the Pacific Islanders and sisters from outside, the sisters overseas. And we also have an open group for Meri Tradies PNG, where we get our supporters who comes in and see what we are doing, what we talk about, the issues we have. We have all in the open group are men, both men and women, who are also in the group, and they are supporting us in any way they can, like give motivate us by telling good stories about themselves or about what has happened, or seeing what we do and, you know, complimenting us. Okay? So I would say that Meri Tradies has come so far to this, and we have a long way to go. Yes, and to come out and talk about it for WOW, to give us the opportunity, for APTC to give us the opportunity to come out and talk about this is so it's a blessing. I appreciate. And women in trades must have a voice and must be heard, because together we are strong, together we empower women. Thank you for listening.
So often when my career comes up in conversation, be it wanting a promotion, wanting a pay rise, or just generally wanting more than what's in front of me, people will often come back with the classic, hang in there, hard work pays off. But it wasn't until recently that I realised just how damaging of a statement that truly is. When you think about it, when you're told hard work pays off, this implies something's got to give. You've got to work harder to get the attention you're demanding that you deserve, which actually completely dismisses how your hard work is perceived quite differently in other people's minds. In someone else's eyes, you may not even be doing the bare minimum. To say hard work pays off means we always get what we want and there is always a reward at the end of it. But reality is sometimes we work hard and it goes unnoticed, and it's a bit of an unleveled playing field. When told that hard work pays off, I find that I'm often very quick to defend and justify myself. You know, I'm citing the number of hours I work, the countless back and forth emails that I send, and the examples of output where I've gone above and beyond what was asked of me and how I'm exceeding expectations. But here's the thing, I do by my definition work very hard. In fact, I use my level of exhaustion as a way to validate my productivity and commitment to my job. So why do I always get worked up about being told to hang in there? Well, turns out I'm not exhausted by the work itself. In fact, I love my job. I'm just really tired of having conversations and interactions where I need to constantly demonstrate and prove my worth and value in a way that is not expected of my male counterparts. Why am I constantly following and chasing things up? Don't you respect me enough to make me a priority? Why am I the one that's constantly apologizing when it's not even my fault? Why am I not credited for doing all the behind the scenes work? Which is actually a bit of a trick question, because a lot of the work that I do is unnoticed and unseen, particularly during COVID, but I guess that's part of the problem. By default and fault of the patriarchy, hard work in my case, and I'm sure for many other women, pays off disproportionately. And so here I am, a young woman in the media industry who is hustling, told to stand on her own 2 feet and not to be pulled in every direction, yet hurting her career as she's not all things to all people at all times. So the mixed messages are quite confusing, and it's a bit of a double standard. But now that I've set the scene for you, what I really wanted to talk to you about today was the why part of these experiences and what situations have occurred that have led me to realizing that us women are literally walking litmus tests. So let's unpack it a bit more. The work hard narrative for men and women is actually inherently different. It's ingrained in women that working hard needs to be performative to gain recognition. This means staying back those extra hours, doing the heavy lifting for everyone, taking on extra work, being first in and last out of the office. I'm not even sure if it was us women who subconsciously set this precedent, but it really has set the tone, and it's just the expectation and general consensus that harder work for women pays off eventually, and no one can actually give us a definitive timeline of when that will be, because we constantly gaslight ourselves and each other into believing that inflicting these often unrealistic expectations and limits on ourselves will reap the rewards and the recognition and the benefits that we're attaining. when in fact this is not the case whatsoever. We're really just enabling our counterparts, who more often than not are male, to expect more from us, and the cognitive dissonance is astounding. So prior to COVID, I used to attribute these unrelenting standards of mine, you know, the need to stay relevant, the need to be and seem constantly busy, my hoarding work tendencies, and my inability to share work. These in my mind all funneled back to imposter syndrome. Ironically enough, it actually took a global pandemic to reveal how my imposter syndrome was actually a martyr complex disguised as imposter syndrome. Now, what I mean by that is, for me personally, it was less about running on the fear of job security or that I'm next to leave, but more about constantly vying for recognition, approval, validation, acceptance, and social capital in the workplace, particularly with my male counterparts, knowing full well that these very co-workers would not be seeking or even thinking about this same kind of approval for themselves, ever. In fact, they probably already have it. So yes, my mindset in of itself is a little bit unrealistic, completely just delusional, but also not entirely unreasonable, as my end goal for recognition is clear. Maybe if I, help out after hours, I'll get positive PR and be seen as hardworking. Maybe if I can show he can lean on me for this extra work that he can definitely do himself, I'll be seen as the go-to person he trusts. Maybe if I don't call him out on his mansplaining and protect and pander to his ego, then I'll advance my own career. Because again, it's all about serving self-interest, but also managing relationships. More output, more hours equals harder work, which equals more recognition, which equals when you start to get noticed. And this, my friends, is the vicious cycle. What's funny though is that none of these virtuous acts of kindness and self-inflicted extra workload gets fed up to the decision makers. It's actually kind of business as usual. No one gets a medal here for working harder. They don't know the ins and outs of the day-to-day martyrship that I do. I honestly just do it because I feel as if I have to. Like it's this automated response or this moral conscience that's so deeply ingrained in me and women as a whole. It's like part of our job description is to be altruistic in our work ethic and leave this long-lasting impression on everyone we speak to. Why aren't men held to this same expectation? And what have I actually got in return from this burnout? And what have I got to show for it? So much as a thank you and some heavy eye bags is surely not the payoff for the output that isn't being accounted for. As of late, COVID has really amplified this way of thinking for me. It's been increasingly challenging to create boundaries and agree on expectations during this time, but it's definitely also shed light on how we're using work as armor or receipts that we are the hardest working, these proof points. There are 3 key themes that are really at play here. The first is competition over collaboration. So us women are pitted against one another. It's become a contest of who has the biggest workload and a race of who will get to the top. It's exhausting and it exacerbates my martyr complex and my imposter syndrome. And who really benefits from all this? Not us women as a whole, that's for sure. The second theme is proof points over potential. So it's that constant need to showcase your performance over your potential, how your work ethic is characterized by your ability to meet KPIs and quotas. Now, I absolutely get that we have to take the emotion out of asking for a raise and a promotion. But when things are slow to move and recognizing talent is solely based on numbers and concrete evidence, it has a direct impact on my hunger for growth and my passion and my drive. It brings self-doubt and rocks my confidence entirely, which is obviously counterintuitive. And then the last theme is, of course, burnout over balance and backing yourself. So I've seen all my female leaders work tirelessly to get the job done, to be many hats, all functions, all roles, all responsibilities. To say I'm inspired and moved by them is a complete understatement. However, the ethical dilemma at play is that none of them see that their work is a form of exploitation. They just accept it, they move on. They say it's the beauty of the job, where hard work in turn creates a burnout culture. So before I finish, to anyone who is feeling undervalued, to anyone whose confidence has been completely thrown, to anyone who has played down their smartness for the patriarchy, felt unworthy of having a voice at the table, underappreciated for all their hard work, and is working harder to prove to themselves and others that you're an asset. I think we as a whole can do a lot better to confront these challenges and unlearn these behaviours. And this isn't me or you playing the victim, it's simply us wanting more for ourselves, something that I haven't really confronted before until now. We're often told to lean into the discomfort, develop a thick skin, build resilience, but we also need to give ourselves the space to recognise how far we've come. I don't think we do this enough. It's easy to compare ourselves to others. It's easy to accept defeat. But if you're feeling anything like I do, I would encourage you to reflect on your intrinsic motivations. Ask yourself, why do you care so much about approval? How does your work culture define hard work? How do you define hard work? Does your definition marry up with your work's definition? Are there differences at play? All these questions will help you carve out the career that you're wanting and help you become more self-aware of these unintentionally toxic behaviours that we've been conditioned to. I'll leave you with one more thing, and that's your self-worth and your value as a woman, as a worker, and as a friend shouldn't be defined by the perceptions and proof points people have of you. Thank you.